Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, usually if you see me crying, it's because I stubbed my toe, you know?
I thought you were eating.
Yeah. I think, I mean, here. So that means physically I survived. Up here? See.
Did you have a nice time? Okay.
Yeah, we did. We did. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we really did. I was telling people that there's no way. We talked about it today and I said, we're scrapping that.
You know.
Yep, we're ready to roll.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. That's how I call it.
Good evening, afternoon, whatever. I didn't bring copies of lots of stuff because I knew that that there were articles that we had shared last time. So thought, as typical, we can finalize the agenda. When we left last time, especially Article 13, 20, and 28, were put out there and you guys needed a chance to be able to take a look at them and respond. And so I put 19 in there because we hadn't responded to it, but I think it's wrapped into the financial package considerations that are really an 18, 19 blend. Then if it's agreeable, we'll go to some financial package options. We wanted to share some 25, 26 budget implications. Jennifer has done a lot of research about insurance. And so she has some information to be able to share. The school board has talked about proposals and kind of where we are as a whole. So want to be able to address that and just kind of give some implications and foundation, and then put kind of a combination 18, 19 out there to be able to consider. And we know that we don't have any future bargaining dates beyond today. And so it was just, we just need to remember if we need more, that we make sure we take care of that. So I didn't know if you had any other things or additions or subtractions or.
We're ready. We did work on Article 13, so we have a proposal to present to you on Article 13.
Okay,
And on Article 20 as well.
okay,
And then, what was it?
28.
28. We didn't change anything with 28, so we don't have anything to propose with that. I thought we were close with it. I can't, I'll be honest, my brain just like, it was like,
Summer.
okay, we got to that one. I'm like, I'm more than positive we were close on this one. But we can take a second and look back on that. But and we do have a couple team members that are missing today. I just want to let you know that Shelley and Alice, are gone today, but we're good moving forward with everything. So it's just up to you when you want to take a look at Article 13 and Article 20 on that. So.
And we kind of were of the hope that if we could get those kind of knocked out and kind of get the language side of it put to bed, that would be good.
Okay,
Agreed.
okay, I'll pass this down to that stuff. Now,
And we know that it was all, right at the end of the last time we were together, we were throwing stuff out there, and so there was just no time to take a look.
I mean, we felt we were close in a lot of areas too. 13, I think, was the one that we were probably I wouldn't say farthest away from. I think we're close on 13 together. I think both sides had some concerns on some language on that. And so we sat down with our team and took a look at it. I do want to, just the consensus with our team is, one, we don't want to put admin in a bad situation of a gotcha situation. That's never our intent with that. We also don't want to ever violate privacy with our families at all. So that's never our intent with that. And so we heard concerns around, especially Aaron, your concern around privacy. And so we tried to address that as well. So the only area we changed was C, letter C, and I think that's what the section that we are really focused on. Our goal with this, and I just kind of want to give you an understanding, is we care about our students. We want the best success with them in the classroom. We also don't like to be surprised or feel like we are missing a piece of the puzzle when it comes to interacting with our students and with our families. And so that's what we're really trying to, again, emphasize that communication back and working as a team with admin of if there's a situation that happens with a student, that the appropriate people are notified. And so you have there that the written student discipline procedure shall require that incidents are documented into SIS and follow-up communication to reporting teacher, homeroom teacher, and any relevant staff. That could include SPED teachers or counselors, whoever might be on that. If that student has a team involved with them, then that team would be notified. And when a referral is issued by another staff member. And then we put underneath that, all communication regarding disciplinary action shall be handled in accordance with applicable privacy laws, district policies regarding student confidentiality. So we do want to make sure that's protected. And I do think our admin does a great job with that. So that's just in there, making sure that that's put in there to cover our bases, to make sure everybody has that on the back of their minds when they're dealing with information. So that's 13. That was all that we changed on 13 there.
Can I say really quick, Nicole,
Absolutely.
can we correct the date?
Oh,
Mine says
Oh.
6/21.
it should be 8/21.
Yeah.
It's a good
So
day.
Can we correct that? Okay.
There's a lot less stress on it.
Okay, that's okay.
She wants.
I just didn't.
And then all we did was basically take your language and try to put it into that format. So we didn't introduce any new language into 20. 20 is the language that was presented to us from the district. In fact, so you'll see that we just changed maybe like where the paragraph went and everything. So that's all the district's language on that with the policy handbook. There was one concern that kept coming up with the new hire employee handbook, and that couple things. One is that we totally agree that this day and age, we're not printing anything. That, I mean, I'm a technology teacher and I probably print the least out of it. Like I tried to do no printing. But online, the concern is making sure it's up to date. That's
Yes.
the biggest concern, is that there's been incidents in the past where it wasn't the most current. And so that's really what our issue is. It's not about printing a current one, is that the current one is accessible and up to date online. The
And-
second one is that we were struggling to find the employee handbook.
Online, we just checked, 3 of us.
Yeah, but what I can do is I'll share links because they're there.
Okay, because we're like,
Yeah.
we're a long time employees and we're like, we
Yeah.
can't find it.
So that's all right. We'll pull up links and be able to share it.
Okay, so those were the big concerns about that. Yeah,
The new employee handbook is not on.
Okay,
It's shared when we send them the new hire checklist. They get it
Okay.
then, but it's
Okay.
not out for.
it's not
process.
current on
On the
Talent
web.
Ed or anything like that.
No.
I mean, we're not expecting it on like the website,
Yeah.
but like in Talent, where our forms are at, so.
Just-
That was the other thing that came up, is just making sure that it's updated and electronically accessible, that sort of
Well,
thing.
district policies are on the webpage.
Yes,
Yeah.
And,
that's not what we're talking about.
okay, and, but the one thing I will say that we might want to just continue to talk through is, when we update and approve policy. So the board today decides to approve policy A,
Yes,
and then it goes to, Oregon School Boards,
Mhm.
because they're doing our policy work. And so the turnaround has to be for them to be able to make sure it becomes available on our site. And so if there's that concern, maybe it's just through the labor management meetings, that if we have a policy, or as your counterparts now will be represented, in the school board meetings,
Mhm.
that we just make sure that whatever that approved policy is known and comes into everybody's hands, because it may not be for a week or two up to date, just because of the work that it has to go through with, OSBA, but I think we can manage a process that we can make sure.
The goal is just to have current information.
Yep.
And we understand that sometimes things take a little bit, turn around and get it up there, but, that's what our hope is for
Yep.
that, so.
Okay,
So
Can I
that's
just, can
where
I
we-
just
that-
clarify that handbook? So, because we're talking a few different things, right? The policy handbook, what we just talked about policies, then the CBA,
With
and-
this,
which is up. So it's the new employee handbook, which is not up,
yes,
that you couldn't find because it doesn't exist up.
yes,
Good.
You got it.
yes,
There's not another staff handbook other than those items, yeah.
no,
That's okay.
For instance,
Just know, but
no, but we
okay.
recently started doing the CBA online, which is great, which is.
So what is online are all the, school handbooks.
Yes.
Yes, and even that isn't always, I think we all would
Completely
agree that
updated.
that's not. always
Yeah, and that's
updated.
and that's one of the things that we're pushing on this year, is to
Yeah.
make sure that we've got 25, 26 up
It's
there.
really tough for a new employee to come into the district when that's a resource that they can instantly go to and it's not up to date.
Yep.
They don't always have all the contacts and the information of people who to go for that, so if I were new, that's my first spot to look.
Yeah.
And when that's not current, it doesn't come off that great.
Yep, nope, I get it, I get it,
And you're talking about the student handbook,
right,
not the school staff handbook.
well, because the school staff
Different.
handbook,
Totally
I mean,
different.
that's what I'm
Is-
saying,
is-
it's like-
but-
Yes.
when you look at that, that's not a request to have posted.
I know, I'm just making sure
So,
we're saying the right things.
yeah, just one,
So the staff has, communicated, they know who their principal is and it's updated. I mean, we have
Yeah.
had staff members.
Yeah.
We can get one that's 5 years old, and nobody's there anymore in those places.
yeah, and like Jennifer said, the new employee stuff goes out with Talented. Okay. So how about if we spend a few minutes looking at 13 and 20, and you can verify 28
Sure,
for, I don't know, 10 minutes?
that'd be great.
Okay,
Okay.
I've got it. Gosh, I thought we were really close.
if we got it, we can just go with that.
I'm gonna mute this for now.
All right.
Straight line.
There you go.
You did it. You did it. I think we might do that anymore. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's gonna get me down on, yeah.
Jennifer, did you turn us back on?
Thank you. I don't know.
I got you. Yeah, just came around.
So we had 13, we agree with the language and we wanted to be able to express a definition, which I think is that for me has been kind of the sticking point about calibration versus review to ensure implementation of best practice. And I think Eric put it in the best language.
About that, but
I think so.
that when I see the word calibration, the way I understand it is in a building, like at the beginning of the year, when you're working with your staff to help them understand and work together, it's like, what is maybe a classroom managed behavior versus when a behavior incident, so you have that alignment. So working with the staff to calibrate on those things, I think is really useful. And so that's how I'm hearing calibration. There also can be situations when we think about, calibration related to discipline where we want to calibrate on this behavior is going to equal this discipline consequence. And that's where the management right thing, we want to make sure that it wasn't confusing, that calibrating on what is classroom managed versus bringing in like administration versus that piece of like around consequences, which and I think we can have transparent conversations about what kinds of things can equal what kind of discipline and work with our PBIS teams. But ultimately, that was just wanted to make sure that was what you guys were thinking about that in terms of that word calibration, and we're comfortable with that language with that understanding.
Oh, got it. Yes. So I would agree with you. Yes, that calibration, when you're talking about from admin to staff, calibration that this is what we're gonna do, this is how it's gonna be handled, this is the level in which everything's gonna be handled. There's also concern, and that's what Emily was also raising back there, she's part of our team, is that calibration amongst admin too.
Correct.
There's some building, well, all the buildings have multiple admin, and how each admin as a team should be calibrated in itself. So how your team of admin should be on the same page and should be operating the same. So within your own team, as well as calibration with our staff of like, we understand that if this happens, this is going to happen, everybody agree,
Yes.
yep, that's the process that's gonna occur this year. But then it is the same amongst your team, that when this happens, and we're all gonna treat it the same. Not one is not
Right.
going to move as quickly or not follow up or do anything, like the team itself has to be calibrated as well.
Right. And
Cause honestly, that, as a staff, and I think principals do a good job of talking to their staff of saying, hey, this is how it's going to happen, this is what we want. Our concern is within their own team, there's inconsistencies.
Sure. Yeah, we hear that, and I echo, and I think that what you said in the beginning before we went to caucus in terms of like putting admin into a gotcha spot is totally like felt. I do think when you look at discipline situations that factor the student's prior history, their individual plan, there's a lot of nuance. And so inherently, there's always going to be sometimes discrepancies from, that student's attitude when you're trying to work from a restorative best practice. And I think that's where sometimes maybe, inherently, and maybe even in the real system where like judges and you have sentencing guidelines and things where they're not always matching. So I think that we should work together to kind of be in the same ballpark, inherently understanding that there's not going to be this is always going to equal this. And I think that's the part that, that I think that we're committed to try to work together so that we are on the same page, but outcomes of discipline are going to be inherently unique based on those individual situations.
Within your own team at your own school.
Correct. There are sometimes situations where a discipline situation could have a slightly different outcome based on how that administrator worked with that student in those situations.
Yeah, but I think what the concern is that when a process or a discipline procedure is established amongst an admin team, And when it's applied one way to one student and not applied to another student, and there's no circumstances that differentiate the two, that's our concern.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I totally hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
that, no, we're in the business that not every student is the same.
Right.
And their situation, we completely agree with that.
Mhm.
What we struggle with is when
Vice
object,
principal and principal. do
Right.
things very different.
yes, or, and so I think you know where I'm coming from with that.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
think the admin team here understands that. So
Yeah,
I think we're on the same page.
yeah,
And I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
I think we just want that consistency
Yeah.
of like, where one might be quick to respond, quick to follow the process that's been established that everybody agrees upon, where another might not be the same way.
Sure.
And so that's the concern there.
Mhm.
And again,
Yeah.
nobody wants to put our admin in a situation that, oh, you
Yeah.
didn't follow that's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't want that back at us, and we sure don't want to do it to you. And so it's that mutual respect with that.
yeah.
And, oh, go ahead, Steve.
So like one of the words you just said that like, okay, like it just like, I feel like I got it, like, okay, it was like, you said the word process. So what if,
Don't hold me, that's my.
no, I
Process and procedure right now, okay? So-
well, I just think it's just that word process, implementation process. Is that what you, I mean, if that's, is that what we're trying to get? Like collaboration, implementation of process, like,
Like-
You're-
yeah, right after the word implementation process. I mean, that,
Right at the beginning of like,
Right.
this is how, yeah, we're good with our admin saying, this is how we're going to handle discipline procedures. Or discipline within the building, and this is what's going on. We understand that we can ask questions, clarify, this is the calibration part. Okay, everybody understand that? Great.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, like that communication back to us of what we can expect is going to happen.
Yeah.
The concern is amongst the team of admins, it doesn't always follow, like, we can all agree upon that, but teachers are like, sweet, we're all on the same
Yeah.
page. And then all of a sudden, things are different from admin to
Yeah.
admin.
Yeah,
Steve, did that,
And that, the other part of that, the teacher, has the ability, or the calibration on implementation has the ability to have some sort of asterisk attached to it. So for example, if it's like, okay, we're meeting, this language says, the beginning of the year, here we are, we're having a check-in, here's our discipline, written discipline procedure. Let's just talk about calibration. Okay, example number one, if this occurs, our typical response is gonna be blank, blank, blank. Our whole team's gonna do it this way, or this is gonna happen. Now, we say that there could be a place that says now, the outcomes or other things could potentially, vary, based on some student need, but we'll talk about that. But the typical scenario is this is what we're all gonna do. Does everybody agree? So it's like, okay, I know that if this happens, I'm doing a referral. And I know, generally speaking, that the procedure is gonna be implemented the same way in that response time, because we talked about how it was gonna be implemented. But this language just says, there's time for that conversation to occur,
right,
so that people feel like,
yeah,
hey, we understand the procedure and any changes that got made over the summer. Maybe there's a place for some input and conversation around it, but at the end, it's just like, okay, are we all on the same page to start the year? Got it, we're gone, and then this is complied with,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're like, I
yeah,
think the hope is that on, as many occasions as possible, that there's gonna be uniform implementation, but there's gonna be curveballs, we
Yeah.
get that part, but it's just like, did we start the year with everybody on the same page? Did we hear
Yeah.
the same thing? That's.
and it really should be an ongoing thing, and I think that and it's a both way, there's really two parts to calibrate. There's the calibration that would get to basically a discipline process, and then there's the calibration of how the process is handled to be as consistent.
Yes.
And I think that's something that, like, sometimes as an admin, you hear that like, oh, hey, there was some swearing on recess, and it was like, okay, you handled it, didn't need to be, you figured out, and then you're like, oh, wait, there was some racial language, oh, that should have gone through here. So it's a two-way street of saying like, this is where it does need to go here, we need to involve because it's a bias incident or some things like that. And so that calibration, I think, is mutually beneficial in that, but then also the workflows that come out of it once it's hit admin to make sure it's consistent. And I think we're all in agreement that we're not talking about always that this is going to be the consequence. So we can stay in best practice and be as you know, healing center, restorative justice, those things with, you know, care and that, and so I think we're totally calibrated on
yeah.
our interpretation of calibration.
Yeah. Yes.
That was a high.
Yeah, if you wanted to meet throughout the
Yes.
year and do
Yeah.
more of that, that is fine. The contract language as proposed would not require that,
Right,
but I think like that's. I
That's
think when you're saying that things, there's probably people in our membership who are like, that sounds great, let's do that. I wanna be talking and revisiting and being on top of it because it's just, it's like a constant challenge to keep changing.
sure.
Yeah, so we just want to be consistent on the understanding that's about the process and not about the outcome, and to make sure that we meant the same thing. That's all.
Yes,
Beyond that, after that conversation,
yes.
we're
It was
good.
too. I Appreciate that.
Yeah, so then we're good, and we're also good with 20.
And then our team met about, what was it, 28?
Yes,
And we were good with your language that you proposed for vacancies and transfers about the hiring committees from the previous on 8/12. And so we reviewed that language and we accept the language that the district proposed.
so
A
I've,
lot of different colors in there, it would be nice
Yeah.
to just see it all as one.
well, I actually do have
Okay.
a clean rendition of that one, and then with the changes that you've put in here, we can make changes, and if we've just verbally agreed, then we can make sure we get them signed and things like that. So that takes care of those three.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Cool. Jennifer, do you want to come join us and share some insurance information? We've just been looking at, from your proposal and things like that, and listening and all kinds of things like that about kind of where we stand and have a couple pieces of information to be able to share.
It's really close to the camera. So we were talking about how OEVB is changing some insurance pieces. And I went through and took that document just has the incremental changes for both premium rates, the monthly premium rates for each plan, and then on the backside, the deductibles and maximum out of pockets. So you can see that the monthly premium price increases go up between 28 and 60, $80. The average is about 40 overall for monthly medical premium plan increases. Dental plan, we do the composite rate, so there's no comparison across employee groups. That one went up about $4 for the monthly premium rate. Vision plans didn't change at all. They're not doing any changes. Premium rates didn't change for that. So with the insurance cap increase of $100, anybody that had out of pocket in 24-25 will actually have less out of pocket for 25-26 for their monthly premium rates. Selecting the same plans. I did some calculations and I could only do it based on what everybody had already selected. So everybody's out of pocket will go down, and I did an overall cost comparison for the year. And overall, for the total group for the year, if everybody picks the same plans, the annual out of pocket will go down about $20,000 for the whole group overall. If everybody picked the same plans, because the insurance cap goes up more than the premium plans go up. So there's a bit of a savings there. I know it's not great because everything else is going up in the world. But it's not awful, I think. We still know that anybody that does employee only can do it with no out-of-pocket expense. Somebody that picks employee and family for the least expensive plans for medical, dental, and vision, if they chose all three, would have like a $655 out-of-pocket expense, which is a lot. There's no denying that. If we kept the pool at 65,000 like we did for 24-25, the highest remaining out of pocket would be about $425 with the help from the pool. Which I think is less than what it is this year. The highest out of pocket that anybody pays for 24-25 is a little over $500. So that maximum out of pocket monthly will go down if we kept the pool at 65. If it went up to 80, it would be about 350 for the highest out-of-pocket person. So that's a comparison there. On the backside of that page has the deductible changes for the year. On all of the single plans, the deductibles went up $300 for the year. The family plans, a lot of them went down. MODA changed the way they structured their deductibles for family, making it either only 2 times the individual deductibles for family plans.
2 times, so 2 individuals in the family had to pay that.
No, they just made the deductible for a family plan 2 times the individual amount.
Oh,
Yeah, instead of, I think they had some random amounts
Yeah.
before. It wasn't standard for each plan. So this is the change. This isn't the actual amount. So like the MODA Plan 5, the family deductible will go down $1,500 for the 25-26 year. And the maximum out of pockets that you have to pay for insurance went up for singles. Some of the family plans went down. So some good, some bad. Yeah, they had to make it work to fit within the 3% max that they could do.
I don't think the live stream's working.
Oh, is it not on?
Sorry to interrupt you, Jen.
Oh, that's okay. It says it's audio. It's not on end.
Let me
I'm
play.
getting one report, so it might not be the case that,
I don't
it's just somebody was.
I don't know enough about it.
No.
No.
ask you a question while we're troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Sometimes when this happens, in the fine print, there's less coverage within the plans.
Mhm.
And I love the work that you've done. Thank you. I know that this is a lot of work to figure that out. Because I do the same thing, read it, but, did you find that when you?
I didn't, MODA put together a summary sheet and it did list all of the changes in deductibles, the premium plans. Co-pays will go up $5
Yeah,
per
I
visit.
saw that.
Preventive care is still 0.
Yeah.
They didn't change that. The ER visits and additional tier costs, those aren't changing as well. But I didn't see that coverage for different pieces is changing.
The Garner,
Mhm.
one that's that kickback.
Yeah, I think,
Do we have a sheet that tells us whether, Corvallis and our current doctors are on the list?
we don't yet. They haven't made it active
I couldn't find it.
until October, I think. So at our in-service, one of the sessions, MODA is coming and they will be here to talk about Garner. I think they're trying to make things better for people, and by doing that, I think it makes it more confusing
Well,
by adding this extra
especially
benefit.
Change doctors.
Yeah, and
No
I
one
don't,
wants to do
I
that.
don't know what I've heard, and I did listen to a webinar that some doctors may not be in there yet. If you make a request to MODA, they will look at it and try to add it. So yeah, they're trying to offset the cost of increasing the deductibles by adding this Garner piece,
Right.
which I agree makes things more confusing and complicated for your insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't work as well for the HSA plans
Correct.
because you have to
Those
pay
are
your
the
HSA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are the ones people choose because of their cheapest.
Mhm. Yeah. And unfortunately, we don't have any say on who we go with for insurance. So that's the big sticky point there. Yeah,
I appreciate you again.
I know it's a lot of work.
That's great. Thank you
helps me understand
so much.
it all
That's
better.
awesome.
Yeah. Are there any other questions about how that looks or how it calculates out? Okay. Yep.
Did you get report? Because Michelle checked it and she could,
And yeah, it's working now. So
Okay.
they
it could be that it was when we cut it out for
Oh, could it be?
caucus time, but if
Yeah.
somebody couldn't see it, it would take it a while to come
Thank
back,
you.
so. Okay. Yeah, so, what we were looking at is kind of through the lens of what a couple of things we heard was, insurance is gonna go up X amount and it's just gonna kill us all. And in trying to think about what the possibilities were, Jennifer worked her magic to just be able to say, so what are we really looking at? to be able to kind of have a little bit better idea. So, that was,
Unknown.
yeah, that was, that piece of the puzzle. Uh, we've had a bunch of different board sessions in the course of the last couple of weeks, and of course, the board has looked at it too. So, Aaron wants to talk from that perspective, as well.
Yeah, I wrote things down. And I think this is something I've mentioned before, but you know, the board has a very narrow focus of what our actual role is. We're in charge of governance around policy, hiring and firing, and the superintendent, but one of the most important things we do is the budget. It's also one of the scariest things for most of us, because we want to make sure we don't mess anything up and that we understand it. So poor Jennifer gets a lot of questions about the budget. I actually bring it with me to every meeting to make sure if we ever need to look at it, we have it. I like my printed copy with the cover. It held up a lot better than the one I printed. But when we look at the budget, there are almost 100 pages of different factors that go in, as you all know. Like, I'm not saying anything that you aren't already aware of. One of the things that is high on all of our minds right now is a balance of what we know and what we don't know. I think it goes without saying that there are a lot of things coming at us from a federal level that become big question marks, that have us being a little more alert and a little bit more careful in some of our thinking. We already know that some of those changes have shifted our budget about $130,000 for next year, not in the friendly, happy way. And those were the E-rate changes and reduction in the SIA funds available to us. So we've already taken the first kind of punch, I'll say. And I am gonna always look to Jennifer because I want you, like, correct me if I say some of these numbers wrong. I wrote down a few facts. Before I jump into the facts, I'm just gonna say, we know that everything is getting more expensive all the time. It's getting more expensive for you. It's getting more expensive for me. It's getting more expensive for the district, and we're trying to figure out how to make it the best that we can make it for everyone. And we know that the consumer price index, which I don't know if you're a nerd like me, I actually do pay attention and keep track of that. It's supposed to go up 2.7% this year, which is less than it's been for the last 4 years, I want to say. It's usually been over 3.5%. I can't remember what last year's was. I don't keep it memorized. I just look at it and then cry into my pillow every once in a while. And Oregon private employees have said that within their budget, this is through like pay scale and different sources, that they are expecting a 3.5 to 3.7% pay increase for all of their employees. That's businesses that are giving raises, which we know a lot of them aren't. I just found out today, I'm not getting one this year. I'm not bitter. And when we look at our numbers and we crunch them to a little bit of a scale, because you know, not everybody gets exactly the same increase across the board. Our current offer right now is between 6.25 and 8.5% increase for people. That's not counting the additional factors. I can't remember the exact language. I have to look at the sheet, sorry. The long-term disability being paid by the district, and some of the other things with the PERS changes that I will never understand. No matter how many times Jennifer explains it to me. So, you know, we're looking at a lot of factors, and the reality is we can't approve a budget that's not balanced. I think legally we can't approve a budget that's not balanced, but also we can't pull from the few sources that we have money in right now, which is facilities and technology, that we have been asked repeatedly by different groups who come to the board. We need to make sure we have facilities money. We need to make sure we have technology money, and we're doing our best to listen and really make sure that we have that. I think of like the boiler going out here in this building before last, and like that big expense, if we wouldn't have had money to do that, who knows what would have happened. You know, it has to come from somewhere. So we're trying to do our best to really balance things. And from my perspective, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the board right now, we're running out of ways to increase our offer. Like, we don't have more money to find. There aren't any more there were never hidden pockets. There aren't any more crumbs to pull from different pockets. And we're doing our absolute best to do the best by you, because we know that you do that for each other and for our students all the time. So I just wanted to speak a little bit of facts, a little bit of heart, and not as emotional as I was last week. Sorry again for that. And if you have any questions that I might be able to address, I would love to. The big thing, the big scary, I kind of wrote it as a big scary, is that we have heard there's potentially up to $250,000 that will be stripped away from our standard funding next year because of federal changes. That's a lot of money for us to try and find, and I don't want to have to find that. So hopefully that won't happen. But that's one of the reasons we're being really cautious also, is that's a lot of jobs or a lot of programs or a lot of technology or whatever it would end up having to be. So I probably did miss something from my notes because I said I was going to read from them and then I didn't. But yeah, and then Sandy, I think you had mentioned that you might want to say something. I don't know.
Oh, I
Did
echo
I
what you
get it?
said.
Okay.
Yeah, good representation. Yes, the board. We talked about, you know, how important it is to stick with a balanced budget.
I appreciate that, and I hear what you're saying. I also know that our teachers don't have a say in the budget. I mean, I know we can, but our voice is like almost non-existent. And the board and the admin staff, they control the budget. They make those financial decisions that impact us. And so, and it's very clear that we are going to bargain every couple of years. And it's a known fact that we are going to ask for an increase. And so it's really hard to sit on this side knowing that we have no say in how you guys spend your money, but then we are constrained and we're the first ones to get reduced. It's like we have to pay the price when somebody else manages the money. And that's hard on this side of the table to sit back and watch. And so while I respect that, and I do feel lucky that the district does manage money and that we're not in the same situation that a lot of districts are in right now. But we also understand that our hands are tied. Our hands are tied every time at this table. We don't sign the checks and we don't balance the budget. We don't say this person we're gonna spend funds here and we're gonna spend funds there and we're gonna withhold here and we're gonna, that's not our area. But we pay the price. And that's really hard. It's really hard to see sometimes, and it does happen, where funds get mismanaged. And we're like, that would have been nice to have in our pocket. That would have been nice to know that that would have gone to staff here, IAs here, upgrades here, technology here. It's really hard to know that an admin sat home with the large amount of salary that they had for 5 years. That could have been money in our pockets, your pockets too. So I hear that, but on our side, it's a tough pill to swallow when we have no control over it. And so I respect I do understand the situation. It makes it really hard for us too, here on this side.
Yeah, and one of the reminders is it's not just been admin staff that has happened for in the past. That there are others that have received extended pay that aren't just from the administrative classification over the course of years.
Again, but it's not our call. The people in this room didn't make those decisions. Not one single person decided that here. In fact, if you ask the people in this room, they would have said, that's unacceptable that anybody stays home. And I mean, I think everybody would agree with that. So again, whatever those decisions were, they weren't ours.
Yeah. And I don't want to go too far afield or talk about topics that have brought enmity among us, because that's not ever what I want us to do. But I will just, the only counter I have, and it doesn't require a counter, but I do want to say, like, you do have more of a voice than most of us have at our jobs around whether or not we get raises. I'm glad that you do, honestly. I think this process, I wish that it happened everywhere, because even when it's stressful, it's really important. And this process is when we get to hear your voice. I think that Sandy and I both mentioned it a few times. You brought things to us that we were like, we do need to be really thoughtful about that. And in the last bargaining session afterward, we did bring that to the budget table when we were talking about things. And also, again, I invite all of you to come to our budget meetings because you can't sit on the budget committee, but you can come and have a voice at the budget committee. We have the ability to ask questions. You can come and ask questions. I loved that you were there. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Out of our control.
Yeah.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
Sitting and witnessing it, we still like,
Yeah.
that's great. We understand where the money's going.
We can't
It's
really-
not our choice though. So I totally understand that. And I do like this environment because I do think that it helps Susan understand what some issues are. I think it helps admin understand what some issues are. But it is powerless when we see money spent and we're like, I know tough decisions are having to be made every single day. But some of those decisions affect even you guys in this room. And so that's really hard to witness sometimes.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah, I hear it, and we know we can't go over budget. The other thing that concerns me is I don't want to get into a place where, you know, we sit pretty good with class sizes, and then all of a sudden it's a problem that the district is having to lay people off in order to manage a budget. And then class sizes increase. We lose the support of instructional assistants in classes. I mean, it's those kinds of things that I hate projecting forward. To know that depending upon how tight you go on a budget, then it looks bad because we're having to do with less. That's a concern. So coming back from where we were before, your counter to us last time was to stay at a 4.5, 4.5 in a COLA, to keep the experience stipend at 2.5. And so when Aaron said, you've got 4.5, and if you earn a step, you're getting 4%. So you're seeing an 8.5% net. I mean, that's what we have to pay out more. So it's considered an increase, even though oftentimes a step is considered it's just what we get.
But only for 54% of us.
Let me get to the other side.
Okay.
The other side is those that get the 4.5% plus a 2.5% experience stipend are seeing a 7% increase. So it's a perspective of, we know STEP is a part of the contract and a part of where we're going. And we have higher PERS costs and all those kinds of things that connect. So just the awareness there. We did $1,300, $1,400 insurance cap. You came back with an 80,000 insurance pool, $350 a month opt out, the 25,000 dual degree. So that's why we looked at all the insurance. We had conversations with the board and everything. And so our return in a counter back is to do for COLA, a 4.5% in the first year and a 4% in the second year, which was, I think, the same thing we put out there the last time. For the experience stipend, we said we would offer 1.75% in the first year, 2% in the second year. Insurance cap, $1,300, $1,400. Insurance pool at 50,000. Opt out at $350 a month. And dual degree and national board, we didn't factor in. And we did the insurance stuff kind of based on what the insurance information was we came through. So we wanted to put that out there as our counter offer. And like last time, to be able to say, show us where some of the workability is. I mean, if the insurance pool remains the most important thing, something's got to give somewhere, in terms of us being able to balance what we've got. If the COLA increases are what's most important, I mean, we're trying to be as creative as possible to come up with how does it work and how can we make it happen? And there's only so much money out there. So, that is the counter that we throw out.
Susan, I appreciate that your team thought about this and was making, some movement here for us. So I wanted to clarify one thing though. With the experience stipend, the only person, if there was one, and I have to check, that would be eligible for that, you say 7%, would be someone who advances to that last step for the first time. So
That is correct.
so the majority of the people who are there, and under our current proposal would see 4.5% COLA, and then they would receive a 1% increase on the experience stipend. So in that first year, majority of the most experienced folks would see 5.5% under our current proposal, and then the next year, they would just see 4.5% because it would be a continuation of that same experience stipend. So it's just, the experience stipend is really like probably best looked at as another step, essentially, that's not 4%. And so,
Yeah.
you know, there, I wouldn't dispute that there could be individuals who could be advancing to that step for the first time and would see that large of an increase. But the majority of those numbers of people, like, so for under your proposal, as I see it, and I'm misunderstanding it, in the first year, there would be a 4.5% increase COLA, and then the 0.25. So our most experienced folks would see 4.75. And then in the next year, you're increasing it, so it would be like the equivalent of a 4.75 and a 4.25. So that is movement, and I'm not disputing that at all. Like, that we can
Okay,
take that back and talk about it. I just think it's important to note that doesn't, it's not like you get another.
just not like you get it
2.5%.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
okay.
it's just like, you're locked into that, so that cost is different. Now, the one example that you gave before, I wouldn't dispute at all. I mean, if anybody who's step eligible is seeing the COLA here, 4.5 plus 4, 8.5, yeah. And I think that one of the things that I see from my perspective, and I think, you know, it's valid, and we take that into account when we're looking at costing, is that some districts have a lot of turnover all the time, in which there is, on paper, when you're budgeting and saying, hey, everybody's gonna be here and project forward,
Absolutely.
then that's a real cost. But in other districts, there's so much turnover and shuffling or retirement, that it negates that projection.
We are
Of course,
very
that's
lucky to have the
But you keep-
longevity we
You
do.
keep people, and so that's part of the stability, and I think the value that our members and everybody else at this table brings to the district. One of the reasons why, like, I think from my perspective, that you have continued enrollment when other places struggle with that. So it's a cost, and it's real, we don't dispute it, but it's also like, I think from our end, it's a good cost to have, because that means that you're keeping people.
We realize just how fortunate we are. Very few places have 46% of their people. In those kinds of, you know, the longevity speaks volumes.
So if you're good with it, we'll take some time to
Yep.
focus. Is that
Yep, yep,
all right?
yep.
Um, 5:30,
Okay,
and if we get done sooner, we'll come grab you.
yeah.
Okay.
Are we gonna go to the conference room or?
Yes.
Okay, we'll just be up in the conference room in the office.
Council.
Yeah, we come back. Yeah, she has her worker's permit for motorcycle, she bought her helmet. But she went for her first ride today.
I love it.
$400 already, that's on the cost before you ever went for the first ride in motorcycle. Let's think this through. Because I was like, what if you rode and then you did it? You got a really nice car, even if it's her ride.
I love it. I love it.
A little tiny Honda. She is. Oh, so look at size. Yeah. I keep telling her.
We're ready.
Keep calling
We
her
start
that.
Yeah, Jennifer did.
She doesn't like.
So we went back and we had some really good discussions. I do just want to say that we all come back with appreciative of the process here of feeling like I said it before, that we can express certain concerns and that it is being heard, and that this coming together and trying to make change is really important to us. And I think we've been clear all along that compensation, hands down, always has been the number one concern for our members. It was very early in the year that we started asking and having those conversations with each school, and it was high above anything else. We know that we've heard about our technology issues and everything, but hands down, it's always been about making sure that we can pay our bills and that we can pay our insurance and that we have that ability to move forward and just take care of our families. And so with that, I know before we had already talked about having 6%, and even our last proposal where we proposed, we made movement on that. We came back with the district and we offered 5%. And even from that 5%, it's a 50,000 this year from what we were asking, and 100,000 from next year, what we were asking from the 5% that you guys are proposing there. So we feel like we've made adjustments, and we know that like even $500 out of pocket for insurance for our families, that's $500. That's huge for them. That's a big impact for our members that have to pay for families insurance. So I have a proposal I can pass out right now.
Excuse me.
And I'll go ahead and give this to my team. And I know that even I love the team loves the fact that we know Jennifer's numbers are solid and everything, and where there's talk of like needing a cushion for maintenance and everything, we understand that, but we also need that same cushion in our personal lives. We need that cushion for our own maintenance in our own homes and to be able to have that ability to make sure our bills are paid. And so we are proposing a COLA 4.5% this year, a 4% next year, experience stipend of 2.5% for this year and next year. And then we already TA'd the insurance cap, the 1314, the insurance pool, the opt-out. We've already made concessions with you guys of like movement of, we've dropped the dual degrees, we've dropped the national board. And the facilities one, even though that isn't off the table yet, we talked about that, the potential of that, but we're willing to make movement on that as well. So we know that this is going to, you guys are going to have to go back, have some tough conversations with this. We understand that. And we also understand that this doesn't just impact our district lightly. We know that, but we're also here to tell you that whatever decisions the district would make to make this happen, we're there to partner with you on. If there's things that need to happen in order to make sure that we can move forward, then we want to team up with that. So that's our offer right now.
And you're right, we're gonna need to go back and have conversation to be able to move forward, because at this point, I mean, I know we need to think deeply and want to about where we are, but it's gonna mean fewer people. Which is the only way we can do it. Which is unfortunate, but we have to think to be creative also. So it means we probably should set another time. I was hoping we could get it done, but
Oh, I love doing this. Let's just keep it going. Only partially, a little bit joking.
Take a few minutes right now, I'll begin.
We have this time aside if you guys did want to go back and talk.
and while we were, I mean, I'll look at my team to be able to say so too, but while we were caucusing, we talked about what some of the flexibility we would have in what we were able to do. And so my concern is to go back with 20 minutes. I don't think it's not gonna change in that amount of time, to be able to get us to a place of aligning there. Without some further conversation. You know, in terms of how we go, but I'm gonna look to the team to say,
Maybe we go spend a little time and talk, have some conversations and then come back quickly.
okay,
They're just planning another time or we have an answer.
We would like to.
Should take at
yeah,
least 15 minutes.
okay, let's do it.
That's just to see where you're
While
at.
we
Let's do
go
it.
talk, would you guys look just to see what dates might work, just in case?
Sure.
Okay. And I just see.
Appreciate it.
All right, off we go.
I'm actually thinking this because I need it. I just take it. You guys can keep my time.
Chair out the way. Thank you.
It was his last. Okay, your last one. It's actually. kind of-
We're live. Okay, so we had a quick conversation and, would like to come back with the COLA at 4.54. Experience stipend at 2 in the first year, 2.5 in the second year. Insurance cap stays at 13.14, insurance pool is 65, opt out is 350.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, you said, yeah.
Yeah, I want to make, we have that proposal down. Okay. Part of what is, I just want to make sure that we're not, because I believe, based on our last proposal, that in the year one cost, that meant we were $50,000 apart. Because the difference is about $20,000 for the experience stipend at 1% and 30,000 in the insurance pool that you had taken back in your last proposal. So, and then you had mentioned about like the reduction of staff and I guess it was just concerning from the team's end that sounds like that would be some sort of dramatic reduction. Now, you decided that you needed to lay off an instructional assistant because of that would be impactful and negative to their life, but we're not talking about being really, really far.
Oh, we're not talking about laying off 40 people.
Right.
I
I guess
that's,
it's part of trying to part of this is like, you know, where for us trying to understand the priorities or the roadblocks on this, and so.
we don't have the money. That's all of it in a nutshell.
In your budget, that's what you're saying? You
Yes.
don't have the money?
We don't have it set apart in the budget to be able to do that. There's no extra funds to pull from to be able to get to that. So, I mean, that was kind of what the board's conversation was, is we've got to stay within a budget and we want to work with it and play with it, but, we have to stay within where we need to be. You know, in terms of numbers of students and what they pay us in state school fund and all kinds of things like that. So, we can't just pull it from the air.
I think our team heard you saying that you were setting aside a cushion for the things that could potentially happen in the following school year. And that was our concern, not to leave this table with that fear factor in play.
So the money that we have in the budget for technology and facilities. We've just slightly increased how much money we put there put in there every year over the last like 3.
Into the reserve?
Yes, into the
Yeah.
reserve. Because we had so many people come to us and say, we need this money to be there, so. The big concern is that, as I mentioned earlier, like $130,000 have been pulled away. A big chunk of that was technology-based money, was that E-rate discount that we get for reimbursement, so that was about $80,000 hit. So that makes that reserve a little more tenuous and I could be speaking incorrectly, because
If we have to replace what? Before we get the second year E-rate, if we have to replace what that E-rate piece was going to pay for. Before we get E-rate again and pay for it, then yes, it would dip into the reserve.
It's just really tough when I feel like we're so close
What's
to
that?
the 50,000 of making movement and. And again, it's like, we understand needing to have that cushion there. We don't have that cushion. It's nice the district does, we don't. So that's where we're like, we're trying to, we know there's tough decisions that we're so trying to make this happen and I just know that that's gonna be a tough sell for my members to take less than that. And we were hoping to wrap it up tonight and not drag this out anymore. We feel like we really made some movement to meet you guys to where you were proposing and everything. We can't do that to the insurance pool. That's just not, that's not fair to those families. That's a tough sell for them to take that, for those families that are taking a $500 hit every month. I appreciate what you're saying, and I know that you guys are hearing us, I don't doubt that. But it'd be nice to find some common ground with that 50,000 and walk away here tonight.
And one of the things that Nicole had mentioned before, when she was talking about wanting to be able to work with the district if we get bad news or we enter into it, like, you know, a recession or something, that part is real. Now, this is back to like, correct us if we're wrong, but when you're talking about funding your technology and facilities reserves, you're talking about transferring money out from your budget, like you set a budget and you say, we're gonna transfer blank amount of money to this secondary technology reserve and facilities reserve, which is smart, and we're not disputing any of that. But you have a budget right now that says we want to transfer X amount, and maybe Aaron, what you're saying, if we're hearing you correctly, is saying, well, we've already had to talk about, are we gonna be able to make all of those transfers based on other things, or if the E-rate declines and we have to tap into that reserve, what would that mean? But that money is transfers that you can make at the end of the fiscal year. So next June 20th, should we take a break?
No,
I'm
I'm
just
just
fine.
handing
We're
it
just
in.
passing notes in class.
So for example, June 20th, before your fiscal year ends, you could ask yourself, do we have the money to transfer this? And you may or you may not. But like, we're asking you to spend that $50,000 now on the employees and decide, do you have that full amount? 'Cause it's like, it's basically the equivalent of a savings account that you're choosing to set money aside in. So I think what we're saying is there is no need to reduce staff to come up with 50,000. There may be a need to reduce the amount of planned transfer outs from the general fund to your technology reserve. And that could have negative impacts. And if it happened and you were like, we're not gonna be able to buy computers, tell your members to stop complaining. We would help them, like, yeah, we got 50,000 in a raise and depleted their transfer, and that's why that can't happen.
That would
So suck it
calm
up.
them down pretty fast.
Right, we can remind them of that.
He's fixing my grammar, it's fine. My handwritten typos.
I understand, that's my world too.
You will appreciate this. Slide deck presentation, not mine, to our entire organization. The most obvious typo on the planet, on like the title
Yeah.
page. I was just like, can I walk away? Can I just walk away from this meeting entirely?
Totally
Like,
understand that.
at this point, I give up.
Was it
And
ignoring?
it was not my typo.
For that away.
It was not.
That would have been awesome.
I can share some really fun typos that have happened over the years.
As teachers. can share.
Samaritan instead of Samaritan. An L being left out of the word public has happened on several occasions.
I thought there was a difference in the first.
No, no. That was Jennifer.
Okay. Okay.
So we call covert caucus.
Take it.
That's the old fashioned way, you could have been just texting each other too. Why-
Yeah, we could have, but I can't
Not-
text fast enough, so,
That's true, not anymore.
yeah, I can't text fast enough, so, and I have to have board members in on this to be able to know where the hit can land. I also want to say that there are places that, I mean, we've got 4 employee groups in the district. We've got our administrators, we've got unrepresented, we've got classified, we've got licensed. And so it's not just classified and licensed that we're looking at, that we have to be a part of. I would just like to acknowledge and go on record that I feel like the district has given also in terms of where we started from a financial perspective and where we have come to in terms of being able to be supportive in that way without knowing a lot about what's happening. there are some places that we've also acknowledged and given in language, which I think is important as well. Some of the other things that have been heard and not necessarily addressed specifically here have been, talk to us before you do, or alert other people. So, your new association leadership, and I think I may have sent it to you, Nicole, knew this summer, later this summer, that with all the changes in the personal electronic device stuff, I had to talk to the board. There was gonna be something there, and you know, it was the attempt to get something out before.
Which we appreciate.
I mean, and so it's really just about saying, we want to acknowledge that we are hearing and trying to make some adjustments, whether or not they're addressed in this piece or not. And so there is a purpose in the process.
Yeah.
So thanks to your school board who's willing to take a hit with their peer group. The offer that we'll put back to you is a 2.0 experience stipend, 2.5, so first year, second year, and stay with your 80K pool.
Could you say that again?
Experience stipend at 2 for the first year, 2.5 second year, and we'll stay with your 80K pool.
And the 4 or 5 on the form?
Yeah, the 4, 5, everything else is the same, 4, 5, 4, 1,300, 1,400, and the 350 opt-out. And if you want to be covert, we'll pretend that we're not listening.
Yeah, pass notes.
Genuinely with my processing issues, I can't understand anybody says when they whisper, so.
We're just gonna step in this back.
No problem.
Yeah.
We'll just go la 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 la.
Don't make me walk anymore.
Oh, can we get by them?
Do we need
Chair,
to
that's always-
bring this
Oh,
up?
yeah.
Well, the caucus. Oh.
You don't want Steve's side conversation. I know.
Perfect time.
So we talked and, we appreciate the district and working with us, truly, and we accept the offer. So we're very happy with, just
Thank your board.
Yeah. Well, we thank you too, Susan.
Thank you.
You're leading your team, and so, it's not just we understand what goes into it, so we just want to acknowledge that. We appreciate everybody's work on, helping us with this process, and that meant a lot to us, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I do have 18 and 19 in clean copy,
Perfect.
that if we just can X out an initial and write, if we want to have the formal TA copy before the group leaves.
I think we're good with that. And
Okay, and then,
Sign it tonight.
then I will clean it up,
Put it-
so that, because then its next steps are to move forward to ratification in both groups.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
and that there's an opportunity to speak for our members next week and you as well, so.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Preston.
All right. If you want to stay for some signatures, you can stay, but beyond that, you're welcome to run away.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, as a newbie on the negotiating bargaining thing,
You wanna do it every time?
that wasn't where I was going.
According to code, you can't complain about anything.
Yeah, that's a footnote, right?
Block that out, so no.
I just wanna say, I think this was all really amicable and you know, I appreciate everybody's, listening and hearing and, this was way better than I expected.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
We
I,
appreciate you for that, I mean, honestly.
well, I just kind of thought it might, you know,
Yeah.
Be icky.
so this is, yeah, I know past ones.